it's an informal meeting, I would like to ask everybody stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to give it a few more minutes for people to compile their questions, to give them to Brandy, but in the meantime, I'd like the candidates to introduce themselves and give a reason why you're running for the position. So, whichever end.
I can start. My name is Aaron Cox. I was appointed to the council back in. I was,
6 o'clock.
My name is Aaron Cox. I was appointed to the council back in July of 24 to fill a then vacant seat on the council. Since then, been working hard on different things, and some of the things I think I brought to the council is we found some opportunities where we could save some money and even negotiate contracts in the city's best interest that maybe weren't as gracious to the city as they could have been. I'm not saying any councils or previous councils did anything bad. I'm sure they negotiated what was best at the time, but we found some opportunities there. So I think I can continue to add some opportunities and help the council guide us towards the future. I've lived in big towns, small towns, and in my professional career I worked in everything from retail sales to fraternal insurance, computers, and the telecom industry. When I first came back to town, I liked reading like the Pokey paper, the Fort Dodge paper, the Des Moines paper, and I started seeing some things in the different papers that made me wonder what we were doing in Rolfe and looking at some of the things that were happening in Rolfe. And as the existing council members, and Jim will tell you, I started being sort of a pain to them because I saw some things that I thought we were missing out on, which is why when the opportunity came up in 2024 with the open seat, I threw my name in the hat to see if I can help guide us to the future. I know a lot of people say this town is dying. This town was founded in 1863. The first census number I could find recorded was in 1890. We had 529 people. In 1940, we hit our peak around 1,100. And then in 2020, 80 years after we hit our peak, we were down to 509. Slightly below where we were when the first numbers were recorded. And obviously, when they first started, the numbers were even lower than that. I don't think this town's dying. I think we're at a great resetting point. And that's why I want to be on the council.
This is just our posture of our current debt and current planned debt. So use those for numbers. Anyway. My name is Jim Kennico. You all know me. I've been the mayor here for 4 years. Prior to that, I ran for a position on the city council after the previous council had, all 4 of the 5 members had resigned, and we couldn't do any kind of governmental business here, except pay the immediate bills. And so I ran for council. I was on the council there for 3 months, and then I ran for mayor, and I'm coming up on the end of my second term, 2-year term. The reason I'm running for council is that this is probably due to my own fault, but I spend a lot of hours up here, and especially over the last year, helping with the transition of a new clerk and some new people in town, new employees, and I've been taking up the slack on some of the issues, not everything, but in some places, wherever I can fit in and help out, that's what I do. I've always believed in that. And so over the last 4 years, it's consumed a lot of my time. I'm not a young person anymore. I'll be 75 the end of this year, and want to spend a little more time doing what I want to do before I leave this earth. But I still want to keep my hand in. I believe I have a lot to offer. I think the last 4 years have went pretty well, considering we've had a few bumps, a few hiccups, but I think overall they went well. I still think I have something to offer, even if it's just a minor role. in city government. Or even if I don't get elected, I don't mind helping out as a volunteer. So that's what I've always believed in, that's where I wanna go and do the rest of my time on this earth doing that, so. Anyway, enough about me.
I'm Tammy Shinnon. I used to be a Peterson. My mom and dad lived in the brick house right out this back door and up the alley. And my mom was huge into the Rolfe Bank, and my dad was a mail carrier and a postmaster for Rutland. And I've been born and raised here for 60 years. And I used to come to Rolfe City Council meetings with my mom in support of the town, even though I lived in the country at the time. Always kept up on everything that was going on here in town. And I used to be part of the Rolfe Betterment when Bill Winkleblack and everybody headed up the kind of like the economic development. So I was part of that, especially when the school was getting not really torn down, but it was looking like it was going to be shut down and used for other resources. So we were able to keep it open, bring in some activities and things like that to help support our community. And so I have been working as a nurse for the last 39 years. I was a director of nursing at the Rolfe Care Center before that closed. And then I also was a director of nursing at Humboldt. I am now the Dean of Health Education at Iowa Lakes Community College. And so through my years of leadership and also my years as a legal nurse consultant, I figure I can bring a lot to the community and help provide transparency, equity, and community-driven decisions, because us as we who reside here in this community need to continue to have a voice and need to continue to be able to make decisions in the best interest of our community. And so, just as a side note, I was 8 years on the chamber board at Emmitsburg, and I also was a Rotary Board president for Emmitsburg, so I'm not totally unaware of what city government does and how a city operates and things like that. And I think with those experiences, I can bring that forth to this community again. And I can tell you how excited I am to be back in town. Don't get me wrong, I like the country, but the town is where I was born and raised and grew up and was able to play hide and seek and kick the can and run around all night and that sort of thing. And I am so happy to be back, and I'm here to support the community in every way I can.
My name is Alan Winkler. I've been on for 4 years. I'm running again because I wasn't going to, but I had a lot of people talk to me about it and the decisions that I made and the votes and stuff that I went. I moved here in 2019. Since then, I'm on a Lions Club. I'm part of the ambulance crew. I work at the school in Pokey. I'm a paraeducator, so I'm with the kids. So a lot of the kids that we got problems with here in town, busting stuff and everything else, I got a way I can communicate with them, and hopefully we can try to reduce that. The reason I'm running again is there's some things we gotta fix, and a lot of you have came to me about things we need to fix, and I'm hoping this next 4 years we can get things fixed and get the ship turned around, because if anybody knows about our budget, it's not pretty right now, and we need to be saving money and doing things for the town. So that's why I'm running.
Brent Stewart, 32 years old, born and raised in Rolfe. I'm pretty sure everybody in the room knows me. Main reason I'm running is there's been a number of things over the last 4 to 15 years that have changed in this town, and I think we need to get back to our grassroots and everybody start getting along again.
randomly go through some of these, and if we need to have some discussion or open it up, we can. What is something you think the city can change to work on becoming more financially stable? And if we all kind of wanna have some input or say, go ahead, start. Go ahead, Tammy.
Well, thank you for making me the first one. So to be financially viable, we have to look at how we're spending our money, where we're spending the money, and why. And where do we need to be a little bit more fiscally responsible in regards to our spending and what's absolutely necessary to keep us thriving as a community. We have a lot of different things that we need to look at. I'm pretty sure we're Stephanie. We need a new truck, right? And we need to keep our volunteer ambulance service running. We need to keep the infrastructure and everything running here in town for small businesses, correct? We need, Rolfe Heartland, I know it's part of Pro Co-op. However, we need to make sure that that continues to run and flourish. We need to make sure that our community continues to be pulled together. And so to keep us fiscally responsible, it has to be looked at. I would like to be able to audit the budget a little more thoroughly. I was an administrator for a nursing home and an assisted living for 7-8 years. I made my budget, I had return on investment, we made money, and I wanna be able to bring that, to be able to look at the audit and to see where we're at, and to make sure that we can flourish.
Al? Anything to add?
What was the question?
What can we change to become more financially stable? I guess if you guys don't want to answer all of them, you know.
Quit spending money where we don't need to spend money. I know a lot of you, have different perceptions of where we need to spend money than what we actually need to spend money on. Our roads are terrible. We need to, like she said, we need to keep what we got for business in town. We need to start fixing stuff up instead of destroying it. The city's got like 25 lots. What for? You gotta mow them. When they're on the cities, there is no money collected from them, so we need to sell them, get rid of them, put them back on a tax payroll. We just need to do a lot of stuff that we're not doing, and that, I don't know why we're not doing it. I mean, like, we're spending money, and I know this is gonna irritate some of you, and I guess I really don't care. We're spending money on a guy to come over from Oldville to run around and hand out a piece of paper, or to send you guys letters, basically telling you to clean up your yard. We have got nothing really back from what we spent on that. It was brought up by a citizen in town a couple council meetings ago, asking what our return was on that. We don't really have one. I brought a sheet of paper to one council meeting about a person who has outstanding debt with the city from 2016, and we have done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, I know Pro Co-op had a guy they had that problem with, and I know this because I talked to the county attorney, and he said what they ended up doing is going after, like, property where the person lives, you know, something that the person values. We're going after stuff that has no value to anybody and expecting them people to give us or pay off their debt. And we talked about it a little bit at council meetings. We're supposed to be getting a hold of our attorney. And as of tonight, to this day, I have heard nothing about what we're gonna do about it. And there are tens of thousands of dollars sitting out there that we should be collecting, and we're not. So,
May I ask a question right now?
I
And
suppose,
Tammy made some really good points. And as far as drawing businesses to town, keeping the businesses that we do have, how many people want to come to a town where there's junk? How many people want to live next to a place that has all kinds of junk on it?
okay, well, here's my question to you. I understand the junk thing, but if there ain't a town in 5 years, what's that matter?
There will be a town.
How do you know that?
I guess.
Mary, we are so far in debt right now, it's not even funny. We have to scrap to get money for a fire truck, which the city needs more important than Johnny picking up his
Well,
car in the front yard.
I would say we would have more money towards that fire truck if some people haven't worked so hard to cost the city a lot of money.
The previous council was working with individuals to get things fixed. Now, it may not have been moving as fast as some people, I don't really know, 'cause back then I didn't really pay attention, I just lost a leg, I wasn't worried about Joe Blow's car in his yard. And I don't know, I don't have an answer, but I do know that, we need to fix some stuff in town. I'm not saying get rid of it, I'm just saying we need to show a return on investment. Because right now, we have nothing, and we spent tens of thousands of dollars, and there's that much sitting out there that people owe us, and we need to go get that and pull that back into our coffers before we worry about charging up another $40,000-50,000 in lawyer fees. Because we pay our bills as a city, they're not paying theirs. So we need to kind of equal that out, so it's like, we're not spending 20 and we're getting $800. I mean, I don't know how long you guys can farm if you're doing that, not very long probably.
Well, we would collect a lot of money and some people would just pay up.
I agree, but some people need to be forced into it. That's what I'm after, we need to, if we're gonna do this, we need to do it right and do it all the way.
Connie, do you have a question?
Yes, this is for Jim. Who controls this meeting so we don't drag it out and let people keep talking? Is there anybody or?
We would hope that, people would respond civilly. So far, it's been that way. We should be answering the questions, and then if there's a need to ask for clarity or more information, then certainly they can do that. This is, like I said, it's an informal meeting, and we'll just have to take it by storm. If anybody gets out of hand, then I guess we'll shut it down. And cheap people, unfortunately, that are here to learn more about each one of us and make a decision on what we can do to better our community. I'd like to add a little bit about the budget. People from the outside look at the budget. And I've heard the comment, oh, you got $1 million budget, you can afford to do this or that. I think one of the things they don't realize is that we pay almost $100,000 a year just to keep the lights on in this town. We spend another 80 or more thousand to insure ourselves. Insurances are gonna go up, they're gonna continue to climb. We've raised our deductibles as high as they'll go, and we're trying to save money that way. We have a number of city buildings that need to be heated. We don't get any income from those, so we have to pass that on. So we have a great deal of expenditure. I can't say it's all bad. I gave each one of the candidates a list of the debt projection for the next, until 2042. If everything goes perfect, we'll be out of debt in 2042, but right now, coming up this year, our debt out of our budget will take up over $220,000. That's because we've made improvements to the water plant, we've made improvements to the lift station, we've made water systems improvement, street projects, multiple use project. we're looking at a fire truck, and we're looking at, paying for the resurfacing of the parking here along, Main Street and around the corner. Those costs all add up, so I think we're doing pretty good with our budget. Can we save more money and possibly do better? Yeah, we can always do better, but I think the way we're going now, we're doing pretty doggone well. As far as spending money on attorneys, I'll go back to, what do you want? Do you want junk and no hope of bringing in new business, of making it an attractive place for people to come and settle, even if we don't bring in business? What do you want? You know, you have to decide. You can't have both. That's my stick on that.
I took a look, digging up some information from the state in terms of debt, and I looked at the counties, Pocahontas, Palo Alto, Buena Vista, Humboldt, Calhoun, counties all around us. And I know that, okay, yeah, those aren't all, but what I wanted to look at is how all their towns were doing in terms of debt. Of the 48 towns in those counties, 13 of them have no debt, and they're the teeny tiny towns, and towns with 75 people, 37 people, etc. Of the towns that do have debt, that leaves 35, in case the math wasn't quick there, I had to write it down. We actually are the 14th, in terms of going upscale to the highest. We're the 14th up out of the 35 in terms of what our debt is, and our debt per capita. So, yes, I'd like to see our debt at 0. On the flip side, we're not off the deep end like some towns are. One of the things I think we can do as a community is we need to get back to the days where this community was all for one and one for all, and everybody working together. That's gonna that's a huge thing for all of us. You know, when I grew up here, I can remember people coming into the gas station and sitting and talking to Grandpa, or sitting and talking amongst themselves because they'd come in for coffee, and the guys would. And they'd talk about this, that, the other thing, soybeans, the corn prices. They talked about who was doing something, who needed help with something. And I often remember people sort of chuckle as 1 or 2 people left that, hey, they're gonna go over and help Johnny, because Johnny needs help. And they'd sort of chuckle and say, well, I guess we should head over and help him. And one of the guys said, yeah, don't get along with him, but let's go help him. People didn't go help just the people they liked or they got along with. They went and helped everybody. We need to get back to that. Part of that will help bring activity in town in terms of helping people clean up in the areas where they need to clean up. Again, we need to keep the town neat and clean, because we don't attract new businesses, we don't attract new residents if the town looks like heck. So that is part of it too. We gotta do that too. I also think we need to think more outside the box. And by that, I'm gonna throw a wild, crazy idea out there that may not fly. Everybody may scream and holler right away at me. But one thing Jim alluded to, we pay $100,000 a year to keep the lights on. We're not talking just the lights in the building, we're talking the city lights. That's a lot of money. I think we should see if we can somehow get something together with the electric company and say, hey, we've got a bunch of properties that, hey, can you put up solar arrays in there? That'll help you offset your carbon footprint, which is big. The government wants all these big companies offsetting their carbon footprint. Get us some sort of deal towards cutting our electric bill. I know everybody says, okay, yeah, we get all kinds of snow. I got snow out in Connecticut. I had solar panels on my house. I paid for electricity at my house 2 months out of the year. The rest of the time, I was banking money that came back and ended up crediting to lower those bills during the 2 months I had to pay it. Solar does work. I've got the farm, the dairy just east of town here. They just put in a ton of solar panels. I think we need to look at outside the box ideas, things like that might be able to be done in this town, where we can get Alliance, say, to chip in and putting up the solar panels, where they put it up because they're gonna get the carbon footprint credits, and in turn, we maybe lease them that land for $1 a year. In turn, we reduce our electrical costs, save money there. I think we've gotta think outside the box. But everybody's had great ideas and great feedback.
I have a question.
question. So why is the water so bad here? Like, why aren't we focusing on that? It's been bad for like, and the water bill is like so expensive.
Cause you start with the base rate and go up and they don't pay for just the water you use. You start with the base rate.
Well, according to the state, and they sample our water every couple of weeks, our water is acceptable. It may not be perfect, it's acceptable. It meets all the state standards. Yes, we do get a little bit of rust. We have the water system. The water system here in this town is about 100 years old. It has old cast iron pipes, it has old steel pipes. Those things rust from the inside. There's nothing you can do about that. We have put in plastic pipe, and that has helped a little bit, but the system, water is gonna corrode in steel, so there's nothing we can really do about that.
Why don't the prices go down for the water? Like
The prices will never go down because we have to pump a lot of water.
Okay.
I'll tell you what we did this summer. We pumped over 200,000 gallons of water just to keep replenishing the pool because it has a leak in it.
Yeah, but you should do that anyway.
That's, when we're pumping excess water, that causes the electric meter to go round and round and round, and our bills go up. We have to pay for that. So we have to, in turn, pass that on. We can't operate on a loss here. I mean, we're getting by with the skin of our teeth. I'll add to it the same thing with gas. Gas used to be really inexpensive, and a lot of people used it, including the elevator. They used great amounts. The school used great amounts. The nursing home used great amounts. Well, they're all gone, and we're not using as much. So one of the things, as Aaron pointed out, maybe looking down the road is, if we're not gonna make any money on that and the expenses are gonna kill us, why don't we look at possibly selling that franchise to a company like Black Hills or Alliant or something like that. That way we don't have to worry about keeping up the equipment. We've got an odorizer out here out in the country right now that's old, very old, and it won't be long before we have to replace it. The cost to replace that is $150,000. And that money will have to come out of the budget somewhere. So these are the types of things we need to look at going down the road.
I have two questions on kind of the same thing. Al already answered them, but what is your opinion of the code enforcement? Anybody else wants to add to that? I know Al talked about it.
My opinion on the code enforcement is there's multiple different ways we can handle things without spending nearly as much as we do in lawyer fees. There's committees we can put together, as Aaron has said, to work together as a community and not drain our coffers.
Add to that.
Yeah.
Part of that whole code, the official in that jurisdiction can also provide delegates. So if we as a community or as a city council want to be a delegate to that and be trained in how to look at how buildings are structured, are they safe? Is it good for the community? Is it good for somebody to have it, or be in that building, that sort of thing? But it would take some training. So I mean, there's that opportunity as well, to be a delegate for that particular code official. It just would depend on how we would go about that, which I'm not for sure how we would do that. Okay. Do they know that? They have to have a 2-year
Yeah,
degree.
2-year
in-
degree and something that correlates with it, like construction, plumbing, electricity, stuff like that. To be even, and then you had to go take some classes to stay, to even be to be certified with this guy from Mobile is charging us to do the same thing.
Are people aware that council people, friends, neighbors, mayor approach people before citations are issued and have offered
themselves, their equipment, their time, money, whatever they might need to help before a citation is issued. And it's been anywhere from life threats to guns in the faces and responses of get the F off my property. So we aren't just instantly jumping to the neutral third party from outside our community. There was maybe, I mean, it may sound dramatic, there was an issue of life and death, offering your services and yourself. So that's why us and how many other communities are also using his services because of those type of things.
Those things haven't happened for everybody in this community, because I got a letter with nobody talking to me at all. I got one too. It doesn't
Okay,
happen all
okay,
the
okay.
time.
One person at a time here.
You wanna go first, Shannon?
No, that's all I have to say.
Who was the other
It
person?
doesn't happen all the time.
Who was that? I'm so sorry. Hey, Phyllis, yes?
I had a lot of songs never approached about.
About helping?
No, nobody offered.
Several times.
Twice. I got one right before my husband died, and I got another one right afterwards.
Can't you take,
Thank you for the feedback. Thank you, yes.
don't you take into account when somebody has a loss in their family that you just can't throw all this stuff at them? They have additional expense and stuff. So why are you giving citations to people that just had a huge loss in their family?
We,
And that was you, Phyllis.
we don't know what Jim and whoever rides along with him, I think it was Dan for a few times. We don't, some of us don't always know when they're coming, and something like what happened to Phyllis, that tragedy. We had no idea as a council.
It's a small town, everybody knows what's up. Yes.
How did I know it was that guy when her husband
One
died?
person at a time.
I don't know that, sir.
Everybody calm down.
I have no idea. I didn't know he was gonna pass away.
Well, we
Nobody
heard
in
he.
well, no, I know, but what I'm saying is, we have no control over what happens in your
We
family.
should have, because you guys.
Well,
did
you guys
some-
wanna talk
Hey, one at a time.
It's over.
It's fucking bullshit.
Next question.
Y'all wanna talk about getting together and being this big happy family? Then why do you treat people like they're nothing? You give them citations, they can't afford it. Not everybody is blessed with a spoon in their mouth. And everybody in this town knows everybody. And I'm not just saying it because Phyllis is like one of my best friends. If my husband died and somebody gave me a citation that day, God have mercy on their soul.
Sometimes these things are done well in advance, and they don't get over to us, and things happen in the,
You knew damn well.
So-
There's no need for swearing and yelling.
So,
Fuck you, Mary.
hey,
Okay, come on, you guys.
we're trying to keep this simple.
This is supposed to be informal, but we're supposed to be learning about the candidates tonight. And we wanna learn more about what's happening in the community, and we're trying to answer your questions in a calm, professional way, okay? Next question.
And those letters are prepared by that guy in Mobile, and he mails them. So I don't always see them, I might file them away, but he prepares them and mails them, so that's part of it. And he doesn't know that, he doesn't know anybody in town, that's the neutral part about him, just to clarify.
You wanna,
Next question. Or
Aaron.
Aaron wants to say something.
No, go ahead, have our next question.
Two of the same again, how are you active in the community? Or what community activities and organizations are you actively engaged in? Brent?
I'm a firefighter. I help numerous committees and boards with different volunteer work. I don't really know a whole lot else to say.
I answered his question for him. He volunteers on the fire department. He's one of the first people when somebody goes, oh, so-and-so was saying that they need this done, but they can't, like, they're older, they can't get out there to do it. He's one of the first people to jump up, I'll be down there this day, I'll take care of it. Tell them to have it ready. He works here in town at Park West. He's also, if something breaks, you call him, you say, hey, I need the part for this. He will first look up on his phone to see if they even have it in stock. If he does, he will go up, open the store, get it for you, so that you can fix it that day. He, when Sonia was putting in the sidewalk for the old school building, like the one-room school building, he went down and he cleared, so that they could lay the cement down. He cleared the path. He took the cables out of around the rodeo ring, because they're gonna do some different stuff with that, upgrade that a little bit. He went down, took his own time, did it all by himself. He's very active in the community.
Anybody else have one?
Now that I'm back in town, I wouldn't mind getting back on the ambulance if Shelley would have me.
We'll take it.
So, okay. I would like to do that. And just on a side note, I'm helping with the teen dance tomorrow night. So,
I've been a member of the Lions Club and the RBI. And I'm sort of I don't know, I sit in on sometimes on the hometown pride meetings. Not
And you
really
do a
member.
lot.
And I basically step up wherever I can to help people out. I think people have seen me down cleaning up empty lots on my own dime. I rode the garbage truck for a long time until I ended up in the hospital because of it. And I just give my time to the community. I'm willing to help anybody out for anything. Kind of going back to the last question with regard to nuisance abatement, I'll add too that when I first started that, I would go up and I would talk to the people, and I usually got a pretty good reception. And then all of a sudden, people would say, get the F off my property, you're trespassing, I don't want to hear what you have to say, I can do anything I want. And then when you try to work with them, they want to set the standard for how it gets done and when it gets done. That's not the way things work. And we have been trying to focus on the worst stuff first. So if someone has inoperative vehicles on their property, we try to get them to move that. Take care of it. I've given people numerous sources. If you have a vehicle that needs to be retired, here's a source. Reach out and get a hold of them. So I've tried to find solutions at the same time for some of these things, but after a while, people, I don't know what it is. If it's just, people just don't want to be told that they need to clean up their properties or whatever. They just don't want to comply. We also have those, unfortunately, in town that purposely create nuisances, just to mess with people's head, just to bug people, and those people do not care. They do not care about anybody or anything. They will use you and abuse you and laugh about it.
Back to our community activity question, just briefly. I'll admit I'm not as active as I should be or want to be in the community. And I fall into that group that oftentimes many people do. If somebody doesn't ask them, they don't go running after it. Some people do, some people don't. And if somebody asked me if I could help them with something, 99 times out of 100, I'd be able to go help. And I would gladly go help. But sometimes I'm that person that needs to be asked, hey, can you give us a hand with this, or can you give us a hand with that? And I need to be more active, and I'll admit that.
There's a lot of different questions regarding the deficit and saving money. They're just all worded a little bit different. Some are asking about grants or how you guys would handle the deficit, pretty much is what the gist of several things are.
I think you have to look for the grants to kind of see what we can get out of, say, the state or whatever grant is able to provide. And so you have to have somebody that's gonna take the time to research all those grants and what we would qualify for. Because a lot of times you have to qualify for a grant and you have to be somewhere so much into your budget and where you're at as far as the deficit in order for you to be awarded that. And so I like to piggyback off of what Jim was saying earlier, or even what Aaron was saying in regards to solar. And then also check with Alliant Energy and see what we can do for offsetting some of that pay or that expense. See what more we can do. I don't know if there is anything, but I mean, it's always worth checking to dive into. So it would just be a matter of researching grants and see if we would actually qualify for them. And so I work with grants all the time. I work with a grant writer at the college, and so I'm used to looking for grants.
Go along with that. There are grants out there, and as she indicated, that you have to go looking for them sometimes. Sometimes they, somebody will mention something, and I mean, there's a T-Mobile contract out there annually. There's the POCO Foundation. There's all sorts of things out there, but you have to look at it. She said you have to look at how that's going to dovetail into your budget. Some of these grants have matching funds anywhere from 50% to down to 5%. So you really have to look at it. It might look appealing, but if you don't have 50% of $250,000 laying around, then there's no need to apply for it. As far as the budget goes, yeah, hindsight is 2020. Perhaps we should have been putting some money away here and there, but we didn't, and now we're at where we're at. So we've got to look at the future. How can we better spend our money?
We definitely need to look into the future, what we have for expenses coming up. We need to find a game plan, how we're gonna save for them. There are grants out there. I helped gather information for a grant for the fire truck that we put in, and we're working with the grant writer on. And hopefully that one comes through so we don't have to take a loan to pay for the fire trucks. But at the same time, that fire truck we need, we've got to have. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've got to have that fire truck. So we move forward with going to get approvals from two different loan places, so we have a backup if that grant doesn't come through. But if that grant comes through, it'd be awesome. They'd pay for 95% of what our costs would be. That would be great. But we do have a backup plan for it if that doesn't come through. But we got to look at different opportunities like that. The T-Mobile one's a great one. I would love to see us come up with a game plan that we could use that one for, and there's specifics on that. I worked for Sprint, but then they got bought out by T-Mobile, so there's opportunity there. And if you didn't already know, T-Mobile's a big player here now. US Cellular was sold to T-Mobile. And matter of fact, in the last council meeting, we just approved for them to do some work on the existing towers and stuff that they had in terms of needing the permits. And so it'd be really great if we could get into something like that. And I would like to be involved in that if we do, to see if we can get the right verbiage in there and stuff for them.
May I make a short statement? It seems like if we're ever renegotiating the lease on the tower, we ought to be able to have a provision in there that their signal can help the people actually in town.
What I've learned about that tower is it's not a cellular, it's not a voice tower. It's a data tower. And it's known as Union Pacific number 7, I believe. And it's there. We probably could have negotiated a better contract with them to get a little more money out of them, but it is what it is. It's a 25-year contract. I think there's probably 20 years left on that. And then from there, we don't know what's going to go down.
Other keys that would be important on the tower issue when it does come again is who owns the towers. In this day and age, very few of your cell phone companies own cell phone towers anymore. They've all sold them off to other companies that then manage them, because most cell towers don't have just one particular carrier on them. They usually have all the carriers in the area on them. That's something that we need to, next time around, we need to make sure we get a better deal on. Anything we're doing, the next time around, we need to make sure we get a better deal, whether they're paying us more or we're paying them less, for whatever the case may be. As this state continues to, and our legislators continue to drive forward, trying to find ways to make Iowa a more attractive place to live and a more cost-effective place to live, as we've been seeing for the last several years, they keep building up the large metropolitan areas, and they keep taking away from small towns and small counties with no way of backfilling anything for us to keep us whole. You know, they keep trying to reduce property taxes, which is great. I want lower property taxes too. But there's gotta be then some mechanism where we're getting the money filled back in, because it's that property taxes that are our budget. And they keep taking those down, there is no budget.
I think one thing that people need to be concerned
What
about going
happens when
forward.
some people don't pay their property taxes, or they wait 2 or 3 months?
I think one of the things that people need to be aware of is with the property, right now, there's a backfill provision in the property tax, so you don't pay 100% of your property value. That's going away. By 2029, you'll be paying 100% of your property value. Now, where that's going with the state and how much we don't know whether that will increase our revenues or it will stay the same or we'll get less. As Aaron pointed out, the drive is to put all the resources they can towards the big cities because they're growing and we're flyover country, you might say. So those are things for each person to be concerned about. Those are out beyond our control. We're just gonna have to deal with it as we go.
And to come back and answer Mary, if they don't get their money, they have no money to filter down to us. It's pretty simple.
3 questions, kind of on the same lines again, and some of you did touch on it when you were first speaking. What do you want to accomplish? What's your first goal? Priorities, yes, what it comes down to.
I'd say my priorities are get the finances in order for the city, things for our kids to do, keep them busy, keep them out of trouble. Like, I've got 2 kids of my own, I've got countless nieces and nephews in town, cousins. I've got a very large population of children in this town just that are close to me. So that is something I hold near and dear to myself. The parks are something we have to keep up on. Getting rid of some of the properties that we have in town that the city does not receive tax money on, that it could be received tax money on by selling them, or even as Aaron stated, they could go for solar. There's multiple different things we can do in this town. There's no reason that this town has to die. There's no reason that we need to be in a deficit.
We also need to make sure we're getting treated fairly. I hate to do this, but Pocahontas County does not treat Rolfe fairly. They don't. We had the law enforcement agreement that was insane, and it was Rolfe and Fonda that were getting attacked on. We got the same problem with Landfill. It's Rolfe that's really taking the brunt of that hit, because Fonda said, we're not playing your game. They take their stuff down to Carroll County. Gilmore City is one of those really lucky places because they're right on the line, and either side of either county will take whatever it is. They go over to Humboldt to do everything because it's cheaper for them to do that. So we gotta make sure we're getting treated fairly too.
I can offer up that for solid waste, yes, our costs are going up because fewer towns and fewer people are paying for it. And they're increasing costs. It costs more to put this stuff up at Spencer, the landfill, or Gretna, as you call it. They gotta truck that stuff up, gas is expensive, the equipment they use is expensive. It doesn't help that while we have recycling trailers here in town, and we offer up twice a year, town cleanup at the city's expense, that we get people that taking junk down there and sticking it in the recycling bin. So that money that could be saved by keeping that garbage out of there, could help a little bit. But the county and the people in the county pay more for hauling garbage that should be in the garbage down to like on the town, Buena Vista County, and then down there, we pay for them to sort everything out. It just doesn't make any sense. We had town cleanup days, and I just took a pickup load of stuff over that I picked up down at the recycling. Carpet in the metal recycling bin, paint cans full of paint, plastic, styrofoam, plastic 5-gallon gas cans, a whole bunch of Tupperware and Rubbermaid tubs. It shows that people don't care, and we've got to get beyond that. We've got to get where people care, they do the right thing, and that will help us save some money.
I'd say something real quick about the city cleanup days. A lot of us work out of town because of the opportunities, and then you close it at 5 o'clock, which means that we're not even back in town to use that opportunity. And I'm not saying that that makes people putting things in the recycling bin okay, but I would like to see it extended later so that other people.
Very good point. Very good point.
Why can't you do it have it on the weekend also? So for the people that do work, if you have it on a Saturday or Sunday, it's available.
We can do that change. I just want to point out that we didn't have anybody down there monitoring it, and the rules are pretty simple. If it falls under a certain criteria, such as old mattresses, furniture, things like that, that's fine. Throw it in there. If you have an appliance like a dehumidifier or air conditioner, something like that, you're supposed to set it out the side and get a tag for it. Costs $25, and then they get rid of it. We had, because we weren't monitoring it, we had somebody go down there and dump 5 air conditioners in there, and a handful of dehumidifiers and other things, fencing, metal fencing, things that could have been set aside. But somebody sees a dumpster, oh, just gotta throw it in there. So we end up spending time and money sorting it all out so that they will accept it when they take it. Again, it comes down to, we try to help the people out, and the majority of people follow the rules and are very conscientious. There's a handful out there that just do not care. The biggest help we could get was the people that really are conscientious and want to do good. If you see somebody doing something wrong, mention it to them. Maybe they don't know. I don't know. But cleaning up after the elephant is becoming costly and time consuming.
I have something, Stella's place, I know she got a letter, she told me about it personally, and she said that she's been having a hard time getting someone to come and do the mowing and weed eating accurately, so a lot of things are left, but evident, I don't know who the people were, but there were some people that went down and helped clean up her yard, the front and the side, and it doesn't hurt for us all as a community to go out and help somebody. I would be more than happy to go out and do some of that. Dan and I've done that for different people, and, just get them started.
Thank you.
Is there a list of city properties that are for sale?
Of what?
A list of property that's for sale.
We can provide a list of, they aren't technically for sale, but they're available. The council would have to approve the sale, but we can get you a list of all the vacant properties that could be sold, yes.
That would probably help.
Okay?
Because when I called, I got told there wasn't anything available right now.
What was that again?
I called like a month ago, and I got told there wasn't any city properties available That's why
Well,
Dave
we-
just asked that question.
We haven't voted on selling anything. We've talked about it, but we've never voted on it. We've never selected individual properties. And also, just to let you know, there are a bunch of landlocked areas in town that could be bought. The county has control over those. You can check with the county on that. Makes it a little bit difficult for somebody to buy a parcel that has everything around it, no way to get to it without trespassing or getting permission, but those are available as well. So we can certainly put together a list of all the vacant properties the city owns, and you can come up and get that from City Hall.
Next question, what are 3 positive things about our community, and another one was your favorite thing about the community, so if we could answer both of those in the same. Al, go ahead.
3 positives. When there's something wrong, there's always, like the pool, for example, we'll take that, because that's a hot one. There's a committee, I know they meet, we'll meet once a month or something like that. And the fundraisers and stuff like that, when they have them for the different things, I know there's usually a pretty decent turnout from the people in town. I know the bake sale is a big thing, I know that's done pretty good lately. So I guess when there's a need in town, the town will come together to help that person out or that need. And what's the other one?
Just 3 positives or what? Yeah.
Well, that would be one of them. We got good parks. We just need to kind of keep the troublemakers out of there, figure out a way to monitor those a little bit better. I know we've talked about putting cameras up at Northwest, and I know there's an issue with the reception down there. We are self-sufficient in some ways. I mean, we still got our own ambulance, we've got our own fire department. You know, we've got a place where you can get a meal every day. I mean, the town's not dead. It's just we're struggling right now. And the other positive would be we got a good business with Pro Co-op, you know, put that new fertilizer plant up. And as long as we keep, you know, like our fire rating down and stuff like that, as a town, you know, there's more opportunities, hopefully, for them to grow and bring more business and money in the town.
I'd like to add to that, we still have city mail delivery. And otherwise you'd be going to a post office box in order to get your mail. I think Hometown Pride has done a fabulous job with keeping things beautified, and our statues and our parks and Three Rivers Trail, I think through that grant money and making that a positive. Again, I'll piggyback off of Al. We are very fortunate to have a volunteer fire department and ambulance. Imagine having to wait 15, 20 minutes, if not longer, depending on where you live in this community, to have a response. So we have a bank in town, we have a community center, we have a library. And yes, there are some after-school activities for kids. The library has reading times for kids. So I think we just need to be proud of where we are and what our town has to offer. Obviously, my husband is currently on the board for Pro Co-op, so I'm fortunate to hear how things are going there and how robust they are. So I think that's a positive for us here in town.
For the most part, everybody gets along. We all have our little cliques and groups that don't get along. For the most part, everybody gets along here. It's a nice, quiet town. You don't have, most times, you don't have semis flying through the town or people honking their horns in the middle of the night. It's not like living in a big city. It's nice and quiet. And we are on a pretty decent path in terms of where we are in this state. And, you know, hop, skipping a jump from Humboldt, hop, skipping a jump from Pocahontas, West Bend. We're not that far from Algona, and we can get everywhere pretty quickly. We can still live a pretty quiet life in this town.
community center here, and it gets well used. We have fundraisers here. We thank the people that donated towards the new carpet in here, and the new paint, the volunteers who came in to paint, volunteers who help just about everywhere. I mean, we've got a lot of good going for us. If we could just get some of the element that's not so good under control, I think we'll be a town to be envied.
And we are fortunate to still have a golf course.
Yes,
Up in
you are
Jordan.
correct.
Yeah, yes.
Thank you for the reminder, Connie.
We got Highway 15 brand new, that's
Lazy.
What do you think is one thing the city can do to attract people or businesses, economic growth, two of the questions here?
Well, there's certain ways we could go about essentially not taxing the business for X number of years in order to get them to move here, put up a facility, and then purchase our utilities, purchase other things in town. There is, Breda did that with Toyn down there. I mean, there's lots of ways that we can get more business to town. It's not something that we're landlocked on.
Does the Dollar General wanna come here? I've heard that for a while.
Last I
I've
knew.
heard that.
Year after year, maybe next quarter, maybe next quarter.
We should push
Next quarter.
I think the only thing holding us back from offering up something, let's say a spec building or something like that for a business, would be coming together to have an idea of what we want to attract for a business. The biggest thing is gonna be money. It's difficult to build a spec building. You're gonna have invested in there probably $250,000 with no, without a plan or without any sure people that might be interested in that. It's gonna be difficult. I wish we did have that kind of money. We could certainly put up a building with an idea for small businesses in there, 2, 3, 4 person business. There are those companies out there, but we gotta be able to give them something to be attractive, other than, we'll give you a lot, you can build a building on. Well, nobody's really gonna wanna invest in that unless they're a big corporation. They know exactly what they want to build, and what they wanna do to help the community. So there's good and bad there, and I think that's where we might benefit by having a group of people, sort of like RBI, but more like a Chamber of Commerce, try to put out a vision for the future. Anything's possible. Just, I don't have the answers. Other smarter people probably do.
Just from being on the chamber board for Emmitsburg for as long as I was, we would go to events and conferences and meet with other chambers and get ideas from them as to how to bring in extra businesses and what we could attract. And so I would be willing to reach out to, obviously, other chamber boards and see what they would have for ideas and things of that nature, because we need to be able to bring in something to Rolfe.
Yeah.
And so I think if we had some more ideas and people willing to research that and bring them in, I think that would be very beneficial.
We have a good source at our disposal, and that's Mary Jo. She's our economic development person. She's really sharp. She's been beating the bushes, trying to come up with solutions for all of this stuff, but it's these small towns, there's just not a lot to offer in the way of a new building or a site or something like that. So I think taking your idea, putting it together with economic development, and people that wanna think outside the box, that we can come up with a future plan, so to speak.
Can I say something? You're talking about attracting things. We've been members of RBI for 43 years. And we've been in business in this town for 43 years, right here on Main Street and out here on the hill. And it would be very beneficial to all of us if we supported what we already had to. Because we do a lot in this community and donate an awful lot, but that doesn't mean we get seen or notified or noticed, but it happens. And it's really good to support what you've already got.
And I would agree with that, Sarah. We have to support our infrastructure that we have already in order to keep our businesses here. Because if we start losing business, we aren't gonna be able to attract anybody. So we have to continue to support the people that are already here having businesses.
Do you think the city needs a Facebook page so citizens can get accurate information?
No.
Yes.
I say no, because who is going to be the administrator of that one? And then who is going to police it? And I realize that social media, you can say whatever you want on social media, nobody is gonna get in trouble. However, there's gotta be another way of getting it done. We already do an RBI newsletter, do we not?
Yeah.
And
We'll
so
be there
it,
next week.
right?
We're holding them
And so-
Monday at 4
right.
or 5 o'clock.
And-
I have poll.
And so, with that, is there not a reason why we cannot put additional information in the RBI newsletter that needs to be in there from the city? Because I know that when I get mine, that's the first thing I open when I see that it comes in. And so, I read an awful lot of that, other than just the advertisements. I do read whatever. I guess I'm not in favor of a Facebook page.
I say something on that as part of the younger population. I don't read those RBI newsletters. They go directly into the trash bin. I do, though, think it would be a great idea to have a city-sanctioned, actually city-sanctioned Facebook page where, like, if you're gonna post something, the admin has to read it first to make sure it's appropriate. It can all be ran through Meta Business Suites.
Actually, unfortunately, we looked into that, and when you have the social media out there, legally cannot stop anybody from posting. And if they put something up that's false, you can't take it down. That city can then get sued for it. It's a matter of the First Amendment.
Is that because it's a city business page, is that why that's?
Yep.
Okay.
Because
So that's why.
I would have liked to have leaned that way,
Right.
but when you started looking into it, because it used to be you could even do a page where it was just information and you didn't have comments. And there was a case that went to the Supreme Court and they said that you can't do that, so you can't edit anything that goes on there.
Okay, well, even, because obviously if it's coming directly from the city, if it's a city-ran page and this page is posting it, then we know it comes directly from the city.
I agree.
And then we can feed out any comments, they can get rid of the anonymous, whatever.
That becomes the problem, is that even if the city owns it, we cannot go in and edit.
Well,
or
I know you
get
can't
rid of the
edit, but like,
comments.
we can physically be like, okay, this came from a city official. And like, you can run the posts, you can also run ads through Meta Business Suites, and that
Connie.
generates revenue.
Okay,
Thanks, Sean.
Just a second, Connie, but to
Yeah.
your point, who is going to do all that work? I did talk with a couple of different towns about theirs. I talked to, at length, to the Fonda clerk, and she says, I do everything down here. She says, yeah, it takes a lot of work, and she says, sometimes I work longer hours than I'm supposed to keep up with this stuff. So there's a lot of extra work there, and you would almost have to hire somebody to manage that website or that Facebook process. It isn't really worth it. That's the
So,
thing.
I just wanna ask, how many of you read the City of Rolfe website where it says the announcements
as
and
an
stuff?
older
So-
generation,
Right?
I do not like having to get on that equipment or whatever.
Right.
Send it in the mail, and if you really care what's going on in Rolfe, you'll open that letter and you'll read it when it comes in the mail. Then you don't have to go scroll through when Ronnie says, did you see what the city said? Yeah, I read it in the paper, because I can still read, but I don't like technology.
Right, well, and that would be the same for anybody, and I would have to say that I think the RBI newsletter is where I think we need to put a lot of our information. And I'm not discounting wanting a Facebook page. I understand, you know, for the younger generation that that's what you gravitate towards. You gravitate towards Snapchat and TikTok and Instagram and whatever else you're gonna gravitate
But
towards.
with AI, you don't know if it's really ever.
Well, see, just my own personal and through my own career and through my own business and legal, I just would prefer not to even do that. Yes.
Personally, I like the Facebook page because I can't come to the meetings all the time. And if I'm sitting here watching, you know, you speak, them speak, then I can pay attention and I know what's going on. You know, because, I mean, y'all aren't lying, so that's saying what y'all are saying. And so it makes sense to have it. That's the way I see it. I mean,
Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate that.
yes, ma'am.
The other reason I say yes to the Facebook page is it has been brought to my attention, some people think that certain videos have been edited. Now, I don't know whether they have or not. Do I think that the videos that go out are of help to the community? Because not everybody can make it up here. There's people in town that simply can't get out and go up here to come sit at the meeting for as long as it is. So I think those videos are beneficial. I do think that's something that needs to stay. I will say the microphone that he uses, half the time you can't hear what somebody's saying. Do I think the city should maybe invest in a camera and post those on an open forum? Yeah.
They used to do that.
They did. It used to be televised on Channel 3.
But the pushback from some people is, well, I don't get Channel 3.
I don't.
None of us.
I mean,
Nobody gets Channel 3 now, but.
what I'm saying is you can put it out there 5 different ways from Sunday, and somebody will complain that they don't get it.
Right, but if it's on the internet, once it's there to stay. I mean, you can't get rid of it.
Tammy.
Yes.
I was wondering, where do we get the information about what's going on in town? I learned this by word of mouth. I learned the garbage cleanup days because I went to exercise class and there was a paper in the window. Where do you get information about what's going on?
That RBI letter?
When does that come? Every 3-4 months?
No.
Well,
They've also had it on the bulletin boards at Prano, and if it's something major like this, I had it on the classroom where I got a pass.
and I do see it then, I think I should have.
And it's on the boards.
But it's posted 4 different places. So I put the agenda, the post office, the bank, here, and Heartland. You don't really know where else to post it.
Well, can't they send them in the mail on your garbage bill?
And it's hard to keep up with that with everything else.
Type down on the bottom of the bill?
Did they used to put that on there?
Used to.
They used
There's
to put
only a
that
little
on.
bit of room, and I try to put things, and he just asked me, I don't know if I put up cleanup days on there, I must not have.
Well, I
That's
know-
my fault, sorry.
Well, that little postcard we used to do, there was always postcard.
There's only like 12 spaces for, yeah.
It's not everybody.
Now that we're using the different billing sheets instead of the cards, can you use the back, the back side of the billing sheets?
Or do you have legalese coming?
Well, I have, somehow with the software company maybe, unless you want me to handwrite them all.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, I'm just saying, could we possibly use the back of the sheets instead? Now we're doing use it for today.
I mean, it'd be nice if I did a newsletter every month.
Right.
Brandy,
Yeah.
can I say something about that newsletter thing? And I know they have their RBI thing every 3 months. But when I go over to Gilmore City, they have a letter every month. Gilmore Gazette. Yeah, yep. And they even have everybody's birthdays in
The
there.
city puts
it.
Barbara, you volunteer to do that for me?
No, I'm not.
So you gotta have fun.
Do you think, Barb, do you think maybe that would be something that RBI would be willing to do, is do a monthly? They had 3 people at their last meeting, I don't think so. Okay.
See, we don't know that. Yeah, we don't even know that.
So who
We like to do things.
who controls our website right now?
We kind of like,
I got notified.
we don't have it in, like, those things that are at work or.
If I could
Are
offer.
there any more questions for the candidates?
If I could
Can
offer.
we wait just a second? I think Jim wants to add a little
I
something.
wanna offer up that RBI looked into, they used to do the newsletter 4 times a year. The cost of getting it through the mail, the postage, got really exorbitant. And there's a limit on, a minimum on how many newsletters you can put towards a town. So if you have a town of 50 and you have to put out, more than that, less than that, to, I'm not explaining this very well, but.
The United States Postal Service only allows you a minimum number of boxes.
Yeah.
So we used to mail it to our neighbors.
Yeah.
Bradgate, Glover. Because of the post office boxes that are attached to those towns anymore, we are not allowed to do that because they don't have enough people to receive the mail. So what we do now is we deliver them to those communities to be handed out. That's the best thing we can do. And Mrs. Peters asked me the other day that when we get these printed off this next week and are ready to fold, that we can put some maybe down as conflicts. Yes, Shelby, I understand you're young, but somehow there's 45 different ways to do it wrong, and that's the best we can do to try to present it.
That's okay, I was just throwing it out there, I'm not the only young person who does
Oh, I
it.
know.
All right,
Next question.
next question.
But we're gonna read it, okay?
Yeah, we're gonna start reading it.
Peter.
Aaron, you kind of talked about the, Rolfe and Fonda law enforcement. I know, Rolfe Fonda, you guys are paying a lot of money for law enforcement. With the help of Jim,
And you?
well, yeah, a
Most
lot of
of you.
research and talking to other counties and other cities, and the help of Jim a little bit. And we came up with a solution for this year, based off of your guys' general budget, same with Fonda. I'd almost call it a Band-Aid. I don't know if we'll be able to convince the rest of the supervisors to keep it that way. I don't know yet, but I guess I'd like to hear from all the candidates on what your guys' thoughts on that law enforcement agreement is, or if you have any ideas on what we could look at to make it more fair or work better, I guess.
First thing I would say is we need to be holding all the cities in the county accountable to having law enforcement as they're required to by state law. That would be the first big plus. And then equip if we're all gonna have to go to the route of using the sheriff's department as we currently are doing here, then we need to make sure that they're staffed appropriately, but we divide that cost amongst the cities, probably based similar on population like you were working on this year, but, if 1 or 2 cities are all that's gonna actually be using law enforcement, and the other ones, the small ones, the Varinas, the Havelocks, what have you, are not gonna be providing the law enforcement they have, it shouldn't then fall on 2 towns to pick up the vast majority of the law enforcement costs. It needs to be shared equally throughout the county.
Yeah, because Pokey uses the deputies just as much as everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's deputies sitting in Pokey every night.
They're everywhere now, matter of fact.
Good. I mean, it's not, since we went to this, you see, ice cream actually in town more than I did when we had the 28E, and they were making $68,000 a year off us.
Amen.
But then, I also see them sitting out by Dave Vane Ribs, posted maybe not in town, but around town.
They're much more visible.
But the thing is when you go and ask them about it, they are very, what's a good word, sensitive, because they kind of felt like we took them for a ride. But like he was saying, Pokey uses them, and I don't think Pokey's paying, what's Pokey paying for work?
Pocahontas City has most calls, I believe, and a resident in Pocahontas, through their tax dollars, are not paying for any deputy patrol. Just, they're paying for city police, but some of their taxes goes towards the sheriff's department through the general basic, the county, and that's for like dispatch, clerk, or administrative. But for patrol, you get lock your keys in your car in Pocahontas City, if the county deputy comes, that's being paid by Fonda, Rolfe, and all the rural property taxes. I'd like to move some of that deputy salaries to the general basic, so all the cities, even Pocahontas and Lorenzo, are paying for deputy patrol. And then that way, to me, it's the less burden even on Rolfe, because you're paying for part of it through your property tax going to the general basic.
Yeah, because the comment from the sheriff now is, well, will you come over here for this? No. I mean, it's like, we took some of his candy away from him, and now he's like a 2-year-old pouting.
The services, yeah.
I mean, those aren't the right words, so I'm sure when I go home tonight, Steve will be waiting for me at the house, but that's what it seems like. And I'm glad you got it down there that low. I'd like to see some other stuff we got get that low, but.
Maybe even reach out to some of these other counties. I know Webster County, not all of them, but a number of their deputies live spread throughout the county. In particular, in Clare, they've got one of their deputies living in Clare. So, well, yeah, the car's always there, so it slows down the traffic coming into town, number one. But number two, every morning when he leaves, or if he's on the night shift, when he leaves, he does his patrol there. He goes out. When he's coming back, he does his patrol there. There's usually one in between, in the middle of his shift, where there's a patrol, whether it's him coming in or one of the other deputies. But they got, for lack of a better description, a resident deputy in their towns that is there, and if there's an immediate emergency right there that night, the mayor down there picks the phone up and calls and says, hey, I need you over here now. And he'll hop out of his bed or hop out of the backyard or whatever, and even, maybe looking at how we spread out the deputies throughout the county in terms of, maybe a little promotion to live in some of the far corners so that they're closer and can control more. I don't know. There's definitely things we gotta look at.
City clerk, one movement, no?
Randy, you want to know?
So the lady to bring him with?
That's up to you.
Just kidding.
We won't tell.
Any more
Next
questions?
question, or is there any
Yes.
more?
Would you put the citizens' comments back on the meeting agenda and run a more open forum meeting?
Yes. The citizens' comments coming off of the agenda was kind of something that hit home for me. How is a citizen supposed to address the council with a problem they've got if the citizens aren't allowed to talk?
If I can speak to that. We didn't take away the citizens' rights to speak at the council meetings. What we asked for is to fill out a form ahead of time so that we don't get conglomeration of argument and comment and questions that is like gotcha questions. Well, what about this? What are you doing about this? Well, I didn't even know it was a problem, so can you give me a chance to at least research it? That was the whole point. Have people fill out ahead of time what's your concern. If there's research that needs to be done, fine, but we've never taken away the ability for the citizens to speak. We just changed the format.
Right, but at the same time, if you guys are talking about something, or the council is talking about something, and an idea pops into this person's head, they're not allowed to bring that comment up because they didn't give you a forewarning about a comment that they didn't know that was gonna come up.
Well, you can get into, you're supposed to be there for about an hour to do business. If you get sidetracked in a whole bunch of conversations and then pretty soon people are adding in, you don't keep any structure, it's hard to get through the rest of the meeting. So you can certainly take those things offline, or you can hold them over until the end of the business, and we could change that, we could put that at the end of the business for any holdover, discussions. That way, people that have heard the business they wanna hear can leave and know that they got everything, and then you can continue to sort through that problem. So we could look at that option there.
Yeah, you gotta have some community engagement.
Are these forms only at City Hall for these?
We can certainly put them up on the web too, people can download them.
Yeah, cause I work an hour away from here and I don't get off work till 4:30. And I leave town before the building opens, so.
And
Well, I suggested to
if you wrote it out on a piece of paper and turned it in, probably go ahead and say, as long as we have your name and what you wanna talk about, I don't think there's a problem there. It's just collecting the data ahead of time so that you can address the issue and not get sidetracked in a whole bunch of needless commentations and discussions.
I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna maybe go where we don't even have to have you fill out the sheet, but I'm gonna go like we do at school. If you can't be a good boy or girl, you won't talk anymore. You just won't be allowed, you'll be blacklisted. If you wanna come up and start trouble and throw all this dirty laundry out there, whatever, I don't know, you don't know I don't talk very good, then you're just gonna be blackballed and you just won't be talking anymore. Cause I mean, we gotta get through it, we got a set agenda. And they did this at the school board a while back, they had people coming in and just raising Cain. Well, they started limiting it to like a minute or two. So you better hurry and get your point across and skip all the BS and just get right to the meat and potatoes of it, because we're gonna shut you down in 2 minutes anyway. So I would say to that citizens thing, yes, I don't really wanna research your stuff, cause I'm busy enough researching stuff at school all day. I ain't got time to come home and research yours, sorry. But if you can't be good, you just won't talk anymore. We'll just shut you off. And we can do that.
I'm not opposed to putting it back on. I think we need to find the right mousetrap so that we don't end up getting into what we were seeing sometimes before. They come in, there's this, and this, and nobody had said anything to anybody before, and we're all sitting there looking at each other like, we didn't know about it. If it has something to do with water, if the water guys were not aware of a problem there, and then they sit there and they want us to answer right now. They want that answer now, and that wasn't working. That just drug out time. So I'm not opposed to putting it back on there, but we need to find the right scenario, whether it's bringing stuff to the end of the meeting so we can gather it, if we have some stuff at the beginning of the meeting. There are some things though, people have to understand, if we didn't know about it before we got there, it needs to be looked into before we can give you an answer and be intelligent about it.
I would be willing to research whatever topic that you want to talk about. I would be willing to look at that, and as long as, you know that I would come at it from empathy, but we have to have boundaries as to having a structured meeting and being able to make sure that it flows correctly and that it is good. Now, I will have to say, side point, I like this setup. When I've come to city council meetings and I've got people in that square, I see the back of Lana, I see the back of Al, I see the back of, yeah, and it's kinda like, I wanna be able to see you. And I want you to see me, because I think if you see me and you see my facial expression and you can see what I'm saying and what I am projecting, I think that's the best. Because even safety, if you guys have your back to that door and you have somebody who is disgruntled and want to come in, you're a sitting duck. And if you can see and you have the ability to run there or run back to the bathroom, that is exactly where you need to be. That's just what I have seen, and I do not care for the way it's set up right now.
Can't hear them either.
What's
Yeah,
that?
you can't hear them because they're talking to each other, not to you.
You need to be frontal with people.
Very good point.
Are the microphones still in the closet here that we used to have set up? Are they being taught?
We have talked about getting,
Oh, you did?
we've talked about getting a recording system, whether it includes video or not at this point. We haven't talked about that part yet, but we talked a little bit about going to a recording system. Number one, so that you have multiple microphones and picks up everybody's comments. Of course, we have to have civility when you do that. And also in a secondary mode, it would help the clerk, who is busy scribbling a lot of stuff while you're conducting business, to go over it and refresh her mind what was being said, and would make it easier for her. So we've looked into those things, not in a great depth, but we started to talk about it.
Bill,
And these would be something for the next council to really consider.
what you need, Bill?
I remember when Northwest Communication put it on Channel 3, we had microphones for everybody. What happened to them? You remember, Rick?
Yeah. I do.
You had them, and we could all hear you guys. That's what we need to have.
We used to have a sound system that the city had purchased.
There is a sound system in the back room, but it probably hasn't been opened up
For a
in
long time.
probably as long as I've been in town. Don't even know if it
Now
works.
it's at least 16 years old, so.
So to piggyback on Al's, so the school board allows 20 minutes for citizen, or for comments. And like Al said, they limited X amount of 2 minutes per person. I think that might be beneficial because you could still allot that 20 minutes into the agenda. And people could have a couple minutes at least to say what they need to say.
Okay, thank you.
Next question. How are you going to regain trust between the citizens and the city?
I guess I'll start. I guess in my role as a nurse, I come from honesty, being ethical, being responsible, listening, active listening, writing down your concerns, addressing you personally, and trying to give a response to you that is logical, a good rationale as to maybe the reason why something can occur, and why maybe something that we are gonna look into. It might take us a little bit. Please don't expect, a quick turnaround. You have to be active. You have to be an active listener and be concerned for our community and the citizens who reside here. And I love this community. And I guess that's just what I would do.
I'm gonna continue to be myself. If you guys have any questions, concerns, you can talk to me about it. As a lot of you have been questioning things that the city's been doing, I have gone back and forth with Jim numbers of times, asking him questions and concerns from different people around town. We've talked at extent about multiple things, so I had more of an understanding about it. I've talked to Dan about a couple of them here and there. Transparency is key, guys. If we can't be transparent and talk to people one-on-one and get these issues hashed out in a as we've all seen in this building, violent or very aggressive manners, where's civility?
I think we have to look at equitability for everybody and look at any disparities that are happening within our community. With the government shutdown and things like that, I know there's probably people on SNAP and aren't gonna be able to get food, things of that nature. And I think we have to be able to be here to help those individuals in order to get food and things like that that are nutritional value for our citizens here.
I think you guys hit it on the head. I mean, you gotta be open and able to talk to people. And I mean, people have stopped me on the street. I've had people ring my doorbell and say, hey, what about this or what about that? You know, I don't think anybody will ever tell you turned them away and wouldn't listen to them. I might have said, hey, can I catch you when I come back in town? I'm on the way out of town for work right now. Can I get you when I get back in town? But I'll listen to anything you have to say.
I guess I'm puzzled by some of the wording in the question. One being trust. Nobody's ever approached me and said, we don't trust you, or you've done something that is not to be trusted. So I guess I'm puzzled where that, I'm not questioning the person or anything like that, I'm just questioning the word, because I don't believe that we've done anything to go against the people's trust. There may just be a lack of communication. Some people just don't want to talk about things, won't come up and ask a question. I've always tried to be, in most cases, I guess as accommodating as a person can be. But there's, so I guess I'm just puzzled by some of the questions in the word. I don't disagree with the answers here. I'm just puzzled by it.
I would just like to say that sometimes it's not necessarily that you're not coming up with answers. It's sometimes the answers given are a lot of, I don't know, with no faucet as to how you're gonna get the information or how quickly it's gonna get back. Which it's fine, but to be like, well, I have to go through this channel and this channel to check, and it might be a month, it could be 2 months before I have an answer. I think that we're looking more towards something like that, where there's more of a time frame. Even if in those 2 months you come back and you're like, okay, this is what I found so far, I'm still doing research.
All I'm gonna say is, a lot of you have called me, I've got the text. And I'm out there every day, and so, it's usually when you guys got a problem with something, and with me, I will talk to you, I won't run and hide, and I don't always know. I've had to call Heather a lot at different times to get stuff from them and from the attorney, and I've talked to, I rang Aaron's doorbell more than once, I've talked to Jim more than once, so, and I know you guys know that if you talk to me, I'll try to find out. I'm working on some stuff right now for somebody. I've even talked to our great supervisor in the back when he came over for pancakes. I harassed him for 20 minutes. So, I think I'm pretty well out there. I don't think that's a problem.
The
If it
trust
is-
would be, I go to Aaron, I talk to him in private. I want him to keep it private. I want to trust he will not call all you people, because if I wanted all you involved, I would have just sent out a group text.
Right.
I want to go to Aaron knowing until we figure something out. He's not going to call up Al, Tammy, Lana, Dan, Jim. He's going to keep it to himself. And I think that's a trust thing there, right there too.
Aaron and I have talked about different things. He has never, if any of you have ever called him, he has never brought a name up to me. He's always
And that's how it
approached.
should be.
He's
Yeah.
always, and Jim's been the same way. He's always approached it with, I got a question for you. And then I gotta get out of my Explorer and hobble out to the side of the road and talk to him for 20 minutes so we can get an agreement. Or he'll just pull behind me when I get home some night and we'll talk at my Explorer for 20 minutes and figure out something. Jim and I have done the same thing, so.
And you guys all need to be able to trust each other and get along. If it don't work there, it ain't working in town. When I was on city council, and I brought up a couple things at a meeting, I didn't even get out of my car in the driveway when the person I talked about was contacted from a council member to say what I talked about. You guys have to be able to get it together for us to trust that you're gonna be able to work for us.
Well, there's only 3 of us that are gonna be on the council.
She's still talking about the council.
The council in general.
No, I'm not. We're gonna be 3 of us, but.
Couple more left. Plans, ideas for the pool.
I think I put the cat grant in the newspaper with my announcement. That is where they will match up to 20%, and they can award up to $1 million. However, you have to have 65% of the money up front before they will ever consider that. And then, you can fill out an application, 4 times a year. And so the next time that would be possible would be January. And so if that is something that you are wanting to pursue or haven't even pursued, you also have to understand, how are we gonna get the 65% of what it's gonna cost? And so I've been on a couple of meetings and trying to figure out exactly what that total cost is going to be. I think I've heard somewhere around 25, or not 25, but 2.5 million to maybe 3 million to maybe redo the pool, because the cement on, the cement surface of the pool is uneven and afraid of liability and tripping and things of that nature. So if we end up having to take that all the way down to the ground and rebuild that thing, we're gonna have to come up with 65% of the funds before they will even consider giving us a grant for having that fixed for the pool. And I haven't talked to anybody else, I just know just from researching the grant that that's what it would take. And so 65% of 3 million, that's a lot of money. And so I don't want the pool to go anywhere, I want it to stay. However, we have to figure out, where are we gonna get that money? If our finances are in the toilet, or not really in the toilet, but we're doing okay so far, but if we're going to try and look at that, we're gonna have to maybe look at a couple of different grants possibly that would even help us with the pool. We'd have to do an awful lot of fundraising. And tapping everybody in Pocahontas County, when they already have a pool in Pokey. It would be a tough thing to do, it really would. Believe me, I wanna keep the pool, but trying to come up with 65%, that's a lot.
We need the good old days of the well-to-do farmer coming in and dropping a check off and saying, here, use this for whatever. And Tammy's right on her numbers, because I've been looking into the camp grant stuff too.
He's checking up on me already.
I have talked with Steph and Ashley at length about the pool. I volunteered this spring before it opened, and I saw personally the shape that it is in. We were replacing some of the strainers, and when we cracked the concrete, there just wasn't anything underneath of it. It does need replaced. The plumbing underneath of it, the cracks, as Jim has said, the whole thing needs redone if we're gonna do something. Whether that's a liner and some interior plumbing, that's not for me to decide. But it's gonna take a whole lot of fundraising, a whole lot of grant work, and a whole lot of donations to do anything with it. And that's more than even the council is capable of. That's gonna take the citizens of the town, that's gonna take community members, farmers. It's gonna take more than any one person can do, period. So if we wanna keep this thing, we gotta work together.
Well, probably 90 to 95% of people wanna keep that pool.
Right.
But where are they when it comes time to do stuff?
Right.
Donate their money, etc. They don't care that much evidently.
I would also try when we are posting for fundraisers like this, especially to reach out to Gilmore City, because the daycare sends their kids to the pool here. So the families there are invested in our pool.
And there is some ways that we could cut some costs if we did completely rebuild it. I have friends with equipment. Dan has equipment. I'm sure he would probably come in and help. We can do a lot of the work ourselves.
But that's still not gonna save the
reason.
pool.
That's how we ended up with the one we have.
Exactly.
And look how long it's lasted us. There is no reason we can't do that again, other than the issues of, I'm not sure what comes down to bonding or insurance with that if we do it ourselves. That is something that we will have to look into.
Al, you got anything?
I gotta make a lot of pies, it sounds like.
Well,
My daughter worked up there. I got swimming lessons up there. When I was a kid, they used to take a bus and head Havelock and Plover, and then come over and drop off half a busload of kids for the pool for the day. I drove by this summer, Gilmore City had a couple of their big vans over. I'm assuming that was the daycare. Pokey's pool, FYI, is in not great shape because they were shut down half the year. They were shut down
more than Rolfe
more
was.
than we were.
Yeah.
So there is a, I don't know.
So that's another option, if we could see if the school would be willing and ship.
And now with the superintendent we got, talking with him a couple times, he came here for Heroes Day. He would probably be more than willing to have a van or something if we had kids to get the swimming lessons going back where they used to be and get stuff going where it needs to be. But just, you know, I did some fundraising stuff for the school for a couple of things, and there are even some pretty full pockets in Pokey that are looking for somewhere for the kids to go, because it's already been talked about. I know in the school over there, in the high school, that there were lifeguards this year that were coming over here to work because Pokey wasn't open, and we were. So there's an opportunity if we can get our ducks in a row before Pokey does, which we all know how slow they move, we could pull some of that over, and there are farmers over there who've got equipment, big billfuls, checkbooks. So, yeah, we just gotta.
There are also businesses here in town that are tied to businesses there who, their families come to town to do things, and have their families with deep pockets, so.
Yep.
I attended the last pool meeting, and at the end of the meeting, I spoke. When we set up a pool committee a couple of years ago to help figure out what direction to go to try to keep this pool moving, I asked that we get an honest assessment of the condition of the pool and all of its workings. That hasn't occurred yet. I know that they've started to work on finding a source to do that. I recommended an engineer that's not affiliated with any company that builds pools or sells pools, but rather somebody who is an engineer who can go out and do an honest conditional assessment of what we have, and then help us lay out a plan for, well, let's say you've got this that's bad. I would focus on replacing this first. That thing down there, that can be done later on at a different time and with other funds or whatever. But you need a plan to go forward, and then you need to raise the money and follow that plan. If you don't have a plan, I've heard people say, oh, we'll just replace the pumps. Well, the pump still works. It's not the best, but it still works. The sand filters are shot. They all need to be replaced. The plumbing in the pool house leaks. It's gonna need to be replaced. As Tammy pointed out, the decking. So there's a myriad of things that need to be fixed in the pool, and we need to figure out what's the most important thing, focus on that, and go down the road. Otherwise, we're gonna have to look at closing this pool and the likelihood of opening a new pool. I don't think you're gonna find a whole lot of farmers who are gonna invest big dollars without a plan going forward.
We are working on that.
A plan to not only operate it, but a maintenance plan going down the road so that you periodically are looking at things, making sure that they work properly. I'll go this, if somebody were to offer $5 million today to build a new pool, I would say go for it, but the city won't be involved if I have anything to say about it, because we're not set up to manage a pool. It would be best to have a company who can do this type of work, an LLC or something like that, that deals with these things. With all the other things we got going on, we just can't give it the loving care and attention that it's gonna need. just my point.
No, I said we were working on a plan like he asked. I've been in contact with engineers.
Good.
To get our assessment on it, so we can look at it and see if we've got, make a plan towards it, and then we need to see if we can actually get the community behind us. Like you guys said, it's gonna take more than just money, and we have to have a plan, we have to have community help and community backing. So,
Have you talked to Todd?
who,
Uncle Todd?
oh, not yet, no. I reached out to our county attorney, or no, our county engineer, and he recommended a few, cause it's nothing he does in his realm. So he recommended a few to reach out to see,
We might be able to get Todd to do it cheap though.
I could ask him about it too.
But there's another question as to whether or not parts that are needed for the pool are even manufactured anymore.
I would say that the steel sides probably aren't, they would have to be a custom fabrication. I don't even know where to begin to look at something like that. I know that by just doing a repair up there this year, when we changed out the skimmer boxes, one of the walls closest to the steps and the ramp was completely rotted out, so we had to fabricate as best we could a patch for that. And that patch is not welded on, it's just riveted on. So it's a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid. And we've gotta do better than that. If you want the pool to last, you gotta do lasting work on it.
One more question. What is your opinion on emotional support animals in town and persons with disabilities?
So there's laws that pertain to that, lots of steps to a emotional support animal. You need to have that animal go through some training, and you also have to have a label on the dog or a harness that says, do not pet, and then you also have to have a physician documentation as to what the condition you have, why you have the pet, and that sort of thing. And then you also have to look at what does all of the businesses, because if they're gonna walk in with a dog,
Tammy.
or what?
Oh, sorry, but they're talking chickens, horses. Those are more emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of stuff, not dogs.
Oh.
He doesn't say that, sorry.
Oh, okay, I am so sorry. Okay, because I'm thinking, okay, for an emotional support,
Please note it down.
or, everybody has a different animal that they gravitate towards, or that animal gravitates towards them. I know that there is, just coming from a health side of things, it would be a little different if I had a chicken that was gonna be my support animal. And how that was going to be handled if that was taken with me into every business. And at my side all the time, I'm not exactly sure. I'm just not sure. I'm not saying it's not a possibility or it's not, but, and if you have PTSD, it's a bad thing. PTSD is horrible. You have people who can't put one foot in front of the other unless they have something with them. And so, I don't want to begrudge somebody to not be able to have an animal. Obviously, if it's a snake or something like that, I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. But anyway, but I think a dog or a cat or even, a small animal or something of that nature that is controllable, that isn't going to get out of control in a business, I guess I wouldn't be able to say yes or no to that unless I saw it in writing through an ordinance that says these are the type of animals that you can have as a pet and as a emotional pet. And I realized that there was a huge article in the paper, oh golly, January, February, in regards to somebody who had a goat. Is that right? And so, and I'm not exactly sure if it was within city limits or anything like that. But most generally, when you have to have an emotional support animal, there's normally documentation that goes along with it. Whether that is a physician notification that yes, this is the only animal that is supportive, and they have to have a reason behind it and a disorder documented.
I'd like to kind of tag on to, just jump in, kind of tag on to what you're saying. Tried to look into adding to our ordinance to lay out the procedures for emotional support animals, because it is a new topic. We've had to deal with this, I guess, starting about 3 years ago. What I've found is that 2 federal guidelines, one's the Fair Housing Act by HUD, and the other one is the, I just lost my train of thought there. Anyway, the 2 don't agree on the language. One addresses service animals, which are essentially dogs, and in some cases miniature horses. The other one addresses support animals, and they're kind of vague on that. The thing I have been able to find that is it takes a prescription from a healthcare professional to be able to have one. The limitations are, for the town anyway, is that if they provide the documentation and they have the suitable space, they have to be given accommodation. They do have to apply for a reasonable accommodation in a residential district because livestock is typically not a emotional support animal. So horses, goats, cows, chickens aren't typically support animals. So in part of this, the healthcare professional should be checking to make sure there's adequate space for this animal. There's going to be adequate care. The person should be putting in a plan for how you take care of the animal, how you make sure that the feed for livestock is protected from mice, rats, whatever, that you keep the place clean, that the animal is not going to get, it's disease-free or as disease-free as possible. So there's a whole litany of things that need to be done. It was my intent to try to lay out those guidelines in an ordinance so that it would make it easier. You just refer somebody to this, you follow these procedures, likely to happen. However, if you're asking for an elephant, you live in an apartment, you're probably not gonna get that. The other part about this is that the federal guidelines are written more towards people who rent properties. They aren't set up to address people that own their own property. And then you have to consider that the animal needs suitable exercise area. A horse needs an acre, a cow needs an acre, a goat needs, a regular sized goat needs about 1/3 of an acre. A miniature goat really needs about 600 square feet. That's per animal. This is what's recommended so that you don't get into a situation where it's considered animal cruelty. So there's a lot of things that figure into this thing, and I was hoping that I would be able to write some sort of guidance. Unfortunately, when you call the Civil Rights Commission or Washington DC, they just kind of give you the runaround, send you a simple form that has a few bullets on it, and it gives you no real guidance. The sad thing is, if you try to take steps and you violate somebody's rights, they will slam you badly. But they won't give you any guidance on how to set it up so that you don't step over that line. That's been my findings in the last 3.5 years of this.
The only thing I'd add to that is when you're coming to the council for permit, whether I'm here or not, when you come to council for a permit for that, bring everything that's needed. Don't come and apply in March, and then a year later, come and say, well, I never got around to getting that letter, why haven't you approved this yet? We've had issues where people didn't have all the ducks in a row, so to speak. Bring everything you need for the permit, you know, if you need a letter from a doctor, or, you know, depending upon what the cases are, bring everything you need. Don't come and present it to us 1 month and then come back 2 months later and say, well, you haven't done this and you're violating my rights. Well, you didn't give us all the information so we could make an intelligent decision and help you. So I'm pretty sure, unless I've missed something, every animal that we've had, when we had the proper documentation, we had everything and we knew what was going on, we've ended up approving it. It was the questions that we couldn't answer before that we wouldn't just blindly approve stuff.
What I do want to add too, that when we started out the research on this, you type in emotional support animal, and it comes up with a litany of information. Unfortunately, none of it's helpful because it's mostly from organizations that say, send me $100 and we'll get you a letter from a doctor that says it's okay to have an emotional support animal. You know, that does not help. And it's a cottage industry out there, and it's out of control. So it makes it difficult for us to make smart decisions here if we don't have the data, as Aaron pointed out.
If you have your documentation and you have the means to take care of the animal, and your animal is not going to affect your neighbor's daily life, i.e. a rooster crowing at 6 o'clock in the morning and your neighbor works at midnight to whatever. If it's not going to affect your neighbors, it's not going to hurt anybody else, it's not a poisonous animal, it shouldn't be a problem. Simple as that.
I've approved them all, what's that paperwork? And on that point, if you're looking for an emotional rabbit or chicken, I got a bunch. I can hook you up. Or a goat, I've got 3 baby bottle goats right now, I'm just throwing that out there.
Just don't call until after 4, so you really answer.
I have one question when you're all done with that subject.
That's it for questions.
What's that?
That's it for
I think that
questions.
answered it, right?
No, can I ask one last question? Okay, I was on city council for over a year, I believe, and then my husband passed away. Aaron, you were lucky enough to get on. But, question, if you are a chosen one, a lucky one, would you consider, I never took pay at all. I did it because I chose to, for the community. I did not get any pay, so I was wondering if you guys would accept pay or consider putting it in a fund for the city. You don't have to answer that one.
I'll answer it. I already know I'm gonna donate it back to the city. I already know that. I have a question.
That's my plan.
Because I'm not here to make money.
You're not getting rich, and if you're not greedy,
And I'm here to support the town. I'm here to support the citizens who reside here.
I think the majority of, you know what, I'm not even going down the road. Most people have found their way to give back to the city one way or another, and we have to be on payroll for liability purposes, but we can all give it back directly back. And
what'd you just say now?
you have to be on the city's payroll for liability purposes, but we can all find a way to give it back, and I know many of the council members already have, that's how they do it, they just give it back. So that's definitely something new.
And how do you track that you guys gave it back?
There's no way, you can't force them to do it, and it's just, yeah.
So you don't know what, and you could have done with my non-payment?
Well, if you're giving it back to the city, I would get a receipt from the city that you were paying it to the city. I wouldn't just blindly. I'm not saying Brandy would take it, but I would not, I don't care where, I don't go to Hardwick.
I'll try to answer that. The city's,
Hey, we're not done.
city employees' salaries are paid from the budget. The budget is not real dollars, it's numbers on paper. So, your money didn't get misused, it didn't get misspent anywhere else. At the end of the year, if there was a surplus, that money disappears. It becomes a zero. And you start out with a new budget. So, nobody misspent your money.
Well, I didn't know if you gave it to a church or something, I don't know.
So the paycheck would get made out to the council member and they can do, if they wanna walk across the bank like Jim does every time and donate to RBI, or whatever he donates it to, that's what would have to happen. They don't just, I can't just put it somewhere. I mean, it has to go to them.
Because I just walked in and I did not pay, well, that's another stuff.
Anything else?
Let
I
everybody
have
leave.
one thing to say, this is to all of us, because Tammy said about SNAP and things are gonna happen on Saturday for people if our government doesn't do something. So we have two opportunities coming up soon. Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving, is the Thanksgiving Eve service. 100% of that money goes into the food baskets that go right back into this town. And there's representation throughout our community on that committee. You also have the opportunity to support the Lions Club, because they also do a separate batch of food baskets too. So really think about your neighbors this next couple of months, because there's opportunities here that you can make a difference at. If you show up to that worship service, or if you donate something to the Lions Club. It's 100% of that stuff comes right back here and doesn't go out of town.
And we're actually having, now you speak of Lions Club, we're actually having a chili, ham and bean soup, macaroni and cheese, and hot dogs. I think it's a free will donation, and that's tomorrow night.
So can I just ask on that? So if you, I mean, how many people know that? And then know about the whole meal and all of that kind of good stuff? And are those meals available to go?
Ask the Lions Club members.
Because if they're available to go, because, you know, say somebody can't get out and drive, maybe somebody is shut in or something of that nature. You know, like you said, we need to be checking on our neighbors and things like that, and if they need something, can we not take them a meal? Can we not do that for them?
I will also say, and maybe gas money might be tight, but once a month in Sherburne, they do a release pantry. It's $25 a share if you want to sit in line, 26 if you want to be in the faster line, to reserve it. And the shares come with a multitude of stuff, mostly potatoes, which are very stable, and parties. Yeah, sure, okay, yeah.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight to bring questions to the group. I think we've had a lot of great questions from everybody, and we've had a lot of great answers out there. This Tuesday is a big day. Rolfe needs your vote, we need your vote, and I guess last thing I'd say, if you haven't already, look at the October 15th, the October 22nd issue of the paper. If you don't have it, ask your neighbor. The library said they'll make sure it's up at the desk. The paper was generous enough to do profiles for us so that you could learn more about us. There's a lot of good information there as well. So I would encourage everybody to do that if you haven't already. And again, thank you for coming tonight.
Wait, they did profiles on us?
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.